Hi, my name's Brody, and this is my mom, Ann, and I am one of 26. I'm one of 26 people living with epilepsy, and my mom has watched me and been with me through my entire journey. So I thought that since my childhood is when my epilepsy started, and I don't remember a lot of that, that it would probably be best for my mom to tell that part of the story so that the entire story is told more accurately. Later, I'll come in another video and tell you guys what I remember. So, here we go. Hey, Mom, do you want to tell everyone what you remember about me and my seizures? Like, how did it start?
Um, Brody is my precious little adopted daughter, and so we didn't know anything about her history or anything about her background. Um, when Brody was the age of maybe 3, um, her Mima and Peepa noticed that she kind of stopped and fluttered her eyes once in a while. And I guess I was so used to being around her that it didn't seem to be anything that I noticed. But after they brought it up to me, I did notice that she was doing that. So I took her to a neurologist, a pediatric neurologist, and they diagnosed her with, in those days, the 80s, they called it petite seizures, petit mal, petite seizures, which was that word. Anytime you hear the word seizures, of course, it was heartbreaking and panicky, and what do we expect? And they said she might outgrow them. It wasn't really a big concern until she turned 14 and she had what they called it then, grand mal seizure, and in a restaurant with girlfriends. And by the time when I got there, it was over with, so I didn't see it, but their friends did, which was devastating to Brody. The ambulance driver I rode in the back with Brody said that I would be surprised at how many teenage kids they pick up that have had their first big seizure. And so we went again. We had moved to Portland, and we went to another neurologist who thought that she might outgrow them, put her on a medication. She's been on medication ever since. She's had probably, at different times, it seems like her seizures got worse as she got a little older. It's hard for a parent to feel helpless that you can't do anything to prevent it, to when you see it starting. And probably the most devastating thing is to actually see your child in a full-blown seizure, and you feel very helpless. Brody seems to be keeping them under control a little better with a diet, a keto diet, and so that's helped her tremendously. Brody, do you have questions for me?
Yeah. So, how much have you seen my seizures begin to get under control since I started the keto diet? Like, if a 10 was the worst I've ever been, and a 0 is completely controlled, where would you say?
Well, I would say pretty much 0. I've been with you for a whole week, and that's not seen it once, which is very unusual, because it seems like if you're stressed or you're tired or different reasons cause you to start to have a little seizure, and I haven't seen that at all for a week. And I've talked to you on the phone, haven't heard it over the phone because I could usually hear it in your voice.
Right.
So
Um, what was the hardest thing about letting me be a normal kid and my seizures that you experienced as a parent?
Um, you pretty much did everything all the other kids did,
Yeah.
and there wasn't any concern. It's because they didn't start happening. They started getting worse as you got older.
Right.
So during school years, you played some sports. You did rode bicycles, did everything that a normal child does. The only time it became a big fear was after you start driving, which you didn't start driving until you were about 18.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at one point, after you were older, much older, and been through college, that I was talking to you on the phone and heard you stutter and knew what was happening, that you had a seizure. But luckily you were stopped to turn, and someone saw you and came and called 911. And in the meantime, I was trying to find you. I knew approximately where you were at, and your boyfriend at that time reconfirmed that that's the area you were at. So after that, it was a big concern. It made you more cautious about whether you got in a car or not
Yeah.
to drive.
So my other question was, when you took me to the pediatric neurologist in Boise when we were living here, did they put me on any medications at that time?
No, they did not put you on any medication. The hope was that you just outgrew them and you had them. Rarely did we see it in your eyes. It was not until you were
like 12, 13 when they really came back. Yeah. When they diagnosed me with epilepsy, did it change the way you parented me at all?
No, it was just because I already knew what to expect in some ways. Learned a lot. Knew it could be worse. I found out it was nothing they could do an operation for, and they had to try different medications. Medications have side effects. So it was just always watching to see if any big changes or if things were working or not working.
What's the most interesting thing you've learned about epilepsy and treatments and stuff in the last few years, or just recently, that you feel like has changed the way you look at it, at epilepsy?
I didn't realize how many people have epilepsy, and wish that when I was younger and going through this, there would have been a group or other people that I could have talked to, that I knew no one that had any experience with it or knew anyone that had it. So I pretty much was blind about the whole thing. I've learned more from Brody lately, as she has learned more about it through the Epilepsy Foundation and the keto diet and meeting people and getting more involved in it. So I've learned a lot from her just in the last few months. And she's doing great.
Well, if you had one piece of advice to give parents of children with epilepsy, what would it be? Because you have been such a good parent, so.
Just to be patient and to start studying and finding out different, like the keto diet, which Brody just heard from other people, but it'd be nice that the doctors educated people about it. and I encourage you to get into a group of supporters and people that talk about their children. There's, you know, worse things, and I just always loved her and treated her like she was nothing wrong with her, and there really isn't anything wrong with her. It's something that you really need to educate yourself on and encourage your children to feel okay about it and not to feel like there's something wrong with them.